let me just basically kickstart it once again. Sorry guys, there's always needs to be some issues of any nature, but I apologize. I do hope that things are now getting a bit better. I'm trying to see if everything is working. Let me see. Okay, so far so good. Just need to check one final setting, if you guys can bear with me, and hopefully oh boy, always something needs to happen. It's amazing. Well, I guess it's part of life. Okay. Sorry guys, just 30 more seconds and I'm gonna be ready to go. Sorry guys, once again, there's always something that unfortunately happens a bit unexpected, but now everything now should be fine and we should be able to proceed. Okay, so as I was mentioning yesterday, the Fed basically has given the hints that yes, they are done rate hiking. I do still believe that if they can, they want to keep rates higher as long as they can. But I do believe, hey German guy, thank you, welcome, drop that like and subscribe. Sorry guys, I had a bit of a technical issues here, but now things should be fine. But in any case, just let me know if you guys can hear me well, if you can see me well. I apologize a little bit for the delay. In case you guys have missed my previous the previous 3 minutes or so, I have basically now I've come out of a very extremely busy period, and now things should become more stabilized. Live stream on Wednesday or Thursday, and basically videos, if not every day, alternated days. Now yesterday, as I was saying, it was all about the Fed. I thought, okay, they're gonna cut rates, and they will probably hint on some sort of rate cuts, which is exactly what they did. And the reason for it is because the market had already priced it, and they are basically doing whatever the market expects them to do. And the point being, taking into account what they've done, they've been fairly successful in the sense that nothing really broke. Nothing really collapsed completely. Sure, certain things came down. There was some volatility period. Some stocks got annihilated, particularly in the Russell 2000, because it's the index filled with zombie companies. That part is all true. But I think it actually surprised everyone. I've mentioned this before, in case you guys have seen me talking about this before, is that there was an economy one day, there was a stock market one day with higher interest rates. But the problem is the vast majority of YouTube content creators and even most people in the mainstream media, they basically remember 2008 onwards. So for some reason, they are conditioned to believe that if rates go up, that's it. Everything is finished. The end of the world is here. And if you guys remember, if you guys been here for a few months, right back in June or July, I predicted new all-time highs for Dow Jones, check. The S&P 500, I think we still didn't get there, but very close. Nasdaq 100, also very close. I think we are about 1.5% from the Nasdaq, and I think we are, a couple of points away from the S&P. We may actually have crossed the all-time high intraday, but I'm really talking about the closing day like we had in the Dow Jones yesterday. Now, contrast that with Meet Kevin videos, predicting the end of something constantly. Contradict that with, sorry KB, I'm starting to have the feeling you have an insider in the Fed. No, I don't, man. I really don't even like them. But it's just that the thing is, the big issue is that you have certain things which are predictable, and typically they are quite simple. And the key is to look at stuff from an overall perspective. But what many times the economists do and stuff like that is they micro look at everything. You see, they look at every single detail in the reports and all of this kind of stuff. So I'll give you this example, right? When the job reports were coming out and they were, overperforming all expectations, they were expecting 200K jobs, and we got 380,000. Okay. So that's the number that's going to move the markets. Interest rates going to go up, bonds will go down. If they go down too much, stocks start to go down as well. That's the reaction of the market. Now, if you actually look at the report, you'll see that full-time jobs are decreasing, part-time jobs are increasing, people getting second and third jobs is at all-time highs, which means weak economy. Now, what that tells me is sometime in the next 4 to 6 months, this weakness, which is hidden in the headline number, will show out, will start to become apparent, which is exactly what happened before. So, basically, by that time, as soon as the bad news start to come out, stocks will go up, yields will go down, bonds will go up, because people will start pricing in the finish of rate hikes and the beginning and the potential beginning of rate cuts. You see, but the problem is that economists and people like Peter Schiff and all of these, they look at the report and they say what the market should think. No, the market reacts to the headline number. What I believe that I know, it's completely irrelevant. You see my point? It has nothing to do with the reality. The point is, how will all the other people react? And it's pretty obvious that every time that there's strength in the job report, it's bad for the market. Now, because the general economy is slowing down, inflation will start to come down as it's been coming down. And then the only thing that we need to do, unfortunately in America, we tend to only look at stuff that happens in America. Because if you start to look at Europe, you see Eurozone inflation at 2.4%. You start to see Spain inflation at 3%, Portugal inflation at 1.6%, even the Dutch inflation coming to below 5%, even the UK inflation, which was the worst, becoming below 5%. So it's obvious, in my opinion, that the US inflation will follow a similar pattern, right? Because the world is so interconnected that it doesn't mingle. It's not going to happen. And then, if you look at China is actually now entering into deflation. So they are a few steps ahead of us. And the point is just that, you see, they don't keep it simple. Unfortunately, particularly on YouTube, what sells, what is good for the audience, and what would make my life much easier would be for me to come here and predict the end of the world, and Mad Max is going to happen in 3 weeks, and there's going to be food shortages, and there's going to be no more oil in the world, and the solar flares will, destroy the planet, and it would be much easier, right? And I would just keep feeding this end of the world content, and then I would just move the goalposts of my predictions and then every time the stock market would go down 1%, I would come here with thumbnails holding my head and crying in the corner. That is the problem, you see, because that's very dishonest content. I know that's what is rewarded, but I refuse to fall into that kind of garbage. Like, I will throw some clickbait because it's what people want to do, to click, but you'll see that my content is always, measured. And then I've also said certain things that have been wrong. I mean, I have no problems admitting it, you see? But yeah, it's true. I mean, this year has been vastly correct. Like, I've said a few things which were completely against the normal predictions. So I said, when I started the channel, everyone was, oh, the Fed is going to cut rates in Q3 or Q4, like September, October, because we're going to be in recession, and blah, blah, blah. I said, no, there's no way we're going to be in recession this year. The reason is everyone is expecting it. You need people convinced that there's no way we're going to have any recession. Like Fed Powell is now thinking that he doesn't see a recession coming. You read what the top banks are saying, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we think that there's no recession. Then there was this headline on the CNBC. Top economists all agree, no way recession 2024, which makes me think that it's coming. And I do believe the Fed deep down knows it. That's why they are preparing the markets for a rate cut. What else? Hey, Karim, thank you for being here. No problem, I just watch it later, it's fine. Also, during that time period, I said new all-time highs, Dow Jones, S&P 500, Nasdaq 100 by end of Q1 2024, the latest. Reason is, I thought stocks could endure high rates much better than people think. Why? Because everybody was saying that as soon as we raise rates, that's it, it's finished, it's collapse of this, collapse of that. But I remember a time, or I've studied times, where we actually had high interest rates. So, we can have them. The market will just adjust to it. That's it. And then as soon as it starts smelling rate cuts, we're going to start to see some pumps. So Dow Jones has already hit it. S&P, I'm not sure if it did or not because I didn't pay that close attention today, but I think we should be extremely close. Nasdaq 100 will be the next. And basically that prediction will be correct. The other one that I've made was oil prices would peak end of September, beginning of October, when everybody was saying, oh yeah, oil is going to go to $100, oil is going to go to $150, oil is going to go to $200. I said, no, we're going to peak by the end of September, beginning of October, and that peak should last for some very good months. Guess what? 28 September, we hit 95 WTI. Comes an article in CNBC, all the hedge funds are positioned for $100 oil. No, that was the top exactly on the day, and basically we are now at $71 or so, despite what happened, in the Middle East that everybody's aware. But that's the point, you see, just do general, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trends, and don't make too many predictions. Now, let me contrast this because this is very important. Peter Schiff's following keeps on growing. Now, he said the US stocks have put in a top for decades and decades to come. He charges you money, he sells you stuff, he gets sponsorships, he gets YouTube ad revenue, he lives off you. I told you, new all-time highs by Q1 2024 for free. I don't charge anything, I don't ask for money, I don't need it. You see, I do YouTube purely because it's my hobby and it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I do think I have something of value and something different to bring. I don't need you, in the sense that, of course I need you as my audience, but I don't need you to survive. You see, he doesn't make his money in the stock market. He makes his money on his book sales, on people buying his funds, on sponsorships, on speaking fees, on like going to conferences and speaking for people, on YouTube ad revenue. That's where he makes his money. It's not in the market. I mean, there's this guy called Your Friend Somi that you should check. He basically showcased Peter Schiff returns over the last bull market. And remember, the last bull market, stocks went up, the S&P went up 600%, the Nasdaq went up something like 700%. Peter Schiff lost 11%. But then if you put in the management fees that you need to pay him, you would actually be down 30% your money. Like, be down 30% versus be up 600%. I mean, this is terrible. But the point is, it doesn't matter, because he speaks with so much confidence and arrogance that you always have people coming in, new people, that don't know. and they all fall for his thing. Harry Dent is another one. He said, we have put in the top in the stock market. I will die before I see new all-time highs. Because he was saying that the next all-time highs will be in 20 years. And he has predicted basically a depression every year since 2009. He has been advising people, if you go on YouTube, he has been advising people to short stocks since 2009. I mean, he completely destroyed people's lives. But again, that's not how they make their money. Robert Kiyosaki is another one. You know, the stock, that's another guy who's been predicting the crash of everything for 10 years. And it's over and over and over again. And you guys need to be very careful with these people because they will destroy you. Like, they will destroy your portfolios. If you believe in them, if you follow them, you get completely annihilated. And basically what's happening right now is the Fed, if they could, they would like to be out of the game of higher interest rates, lower interest rates, higher interest rates, lower interest rates, okay? But the reason why that's not going to work is because they would need the support of the Treasury to do that at the same time. So in other words, they cannot be continuously selling bonds if the Treasury keeps on issuing debt. And we've just added $1 trillion in the last 3 months. So that is the problem. That's why they know that eventually, because you see, the Fed says, we don't comment on fiscal policy, blah, blah, blah. You need to comment on fiscal policy because they're competing with you to sell the same debt. See what I mean? But that's why the Fed is already basically talking about or giving hints about rate cuts because they know they will need to do it. And I've made this prediction, and I do believe it's going to come true. Now, I do not like making such longer tenor predictions, but I think I'm going to go on the whim here, okay, on this one. I think we're going to see negative interest rates in the US, nominal negative interest rates, before the end of the decade. Now, we'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm right. No, thank you, German guy. No, that's my point. My point is that, unfortunately, these type of people, Peter Schiff, Meet Kevin, Harry Dent, and this is the fault also of the people that interview them, because they never put them on the spot, saying, what is your returns? How many times have you predicted this? Have you been accurate or incorrect? So what I'm trying to say is, for the new people that come and watch them for the first time, what they say seems to make a lot of sense. And that is the dangerous part, because things seem to make sense. But most people will just believe them and basically completely destroy themselves. And what I'm trying to say is, just spend 15 minutes checking their track records and you'll quickly understand how garbage their investment advice is. And the problem is that they have a complete lack of shame. Because that's it. They don't care how much money they lose in the stock market, because unfortunately their audience is their own source of income. So that's what ends up happening. Now, another thing that I've said, we should see Bitcoin at least breaking 35K before the year end. Of course, we've went further beyond that. 38K was an important number. It was a technical resistance. We also broke that. 42K was a very important number because that's when the average person becomes profitable in Bitcoin. And then 45K is the next big level. The reason being, if we break 45K before the end of January, we will be basically following previous Bitcoin cycle. So you'll get, if you will, semi-confirmation that we are basically going along with the previous cycle. Now, what I'm talking about is not going above 45,000 for 10 minutes and then coming straight down. I'm talking about going up and staying up for a while. Okay, that's what I'm referring to. Not just touch it and then go immediately down. Now, at the end of Q4 2023, meaning the basically, well, where we are now, every time before the halvening year, we basically Bitcoin outperforms in the fourth quarter of the, particularly the third and the fourth quarter, they outperform almost everything. Okay, of course, you're gonna always find one altcoin that did better, but I mean, you're picking a needle in a haystack, so good luck playing that game. And then what tends to happen is Ethereum outperforms in January and February, and then, but particularly in January, and then between February and March, altcoins outperform. And I do believe that's going to happen. I do think we had some altcoins pumping across the ecosystem that I follow as well, but which, for those who don't know, it's X, Pulse Chain, and PulseX, but not only on that one, but also in other ones. But we still are to have a proper altcoin season. We still didn't have our first one. I do believe it's coming, and it should be coming over the next few months. Now, I've said this before, I'll say it again. The halvening itself, which I think will be fairly close to the launch of the ETF for Bitcoin, I do believe it's going to be a substantial sell the news event. I do think we're probably going to draw down something like 30 to 35, even maybe 40% of whatever price Bitcoin will be at the time. I do believe it will be probably close to 50, 52K around that market, maybe 55. We'll see. But the point being, we are just repeating the cycle so far. So there were some theories around, oh my God, maybe it's going to be different because interest rates are higher. No, same thing. Again, the cycles on crypto are still fairly clean, particularly because it's still heavily dominated by retail money, which means that the psychology of people is quite pure, if you will, in the world of crypto, compared to other assets, which of course have huge institutional participations. By the way, guys, sorry, I even forgot to say, but well, first of all, if you could drop that like and subscribe, it would be great. But more than that, if you guys have some questions for me, feel free to do so, or drop them in the comment section later. It's also fine. So thank you very much for that. What I would like to say. Oh, by the way, there was something that I needed to say. For those who use Ledger, there was a big security issue on Ledger today, in which malicious drain code has been embedded into Ledger and Ledger Live. So I wouldn't touch any dApp. I wouldn't connect my wallet to any dApp for those of you who use Ledger. And this is really bad on their part. I mean, it's really scary, to be honest. And I mean, that is one of the reasons why my personal preference is Trezor wallet. There are other wallets that I'm looking at, but I need to see a little bit more, so that's why I don't talk about them. But between Trezor and Ledger, I do much rather have Trezor, no doubt. But go to their Twitter page, see exactly what happened. It was really, really bad. So you guys stay safe out there. You know, I know that people say, oh yeah, cold storage is extremely safe and everything is fine if you have cold storage. Well, not really. Depends a little bit. It's not always so cut clear, you know, black and white kind of stuff. So, but in any case, let me try to summarize this. Crypto is going in its normal cycle. There's no big changes. A lot of noise in between. You see, it's a little bit like, you know, when you read history, you know that there was a war here and this happened and that happened. So one thing is when you're sitting down and reading it, but the other thing is when you're there and living it. So basically what we've been having, the type of articles, the FTX going bankrupt, those guys the bad news about crypto, the documentary saying that crypto is finished and is a scam, blah, blah, blah. All and crypto just going down and down and people struggling, blah, blah. All of that has happened before. You see, but one thing is when you see it in a chart, it looks very painless, right? But when you're actually living it, it's actually quite painful. So people get distracted by all sorts of noises. And the more that you get into it, the more likely it is that you completely mess up and do something bad. The halving will also close to the introduction of CBDCs and Bitcoin ETFs. That makes me think why. No, the halving is programmed for a long time. And the reason why I think the ETFs will come close to the halving is because, if I notice this, I would assume that guys in BlackRock, etc., also notice it, that you have the halving, you have a period where, Bitcoin goes down for a while, and basically then you have the bull market. Okay, so I think that's the reason why it's coming down. The CBDCs, I don't think they're going to come out yet. I think they're going to test some basic payment ledgers, but it's going to be very, very superficial at the moment. They will come eventually, CBDCs. I have no doubt about it, but it's not going to be the final version just yet. And the ETFs, look, BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, they are top shareholders in 88% of companies in the S&P 500. If BlackRock stays the course they are with real estate, they will own 66% of America's single-family home real estate. Now, what they want to do with crypto is they want to own it. They want to be, I think they recognize value in blockchain. I think they recognize value in crypto. So they want to be the main beneficiaries of it. It's really that simple. That's my opinion. Now, but people say, but this is really bad because this is going to bring manipulation. This is going to bring, this is going to defeat the purpose of crypto, if you will. I say, I'm not judging it. I am not saying that that's going to happen. I'm not saying that I like it. That's, oh my God, this is great. I'm so happy. I'm not saying any of it. I'm not making any type of judgment. What I'm saying is, this will happen. I like it. I don't like it. I feel indifferent. It's irrelevant. It will happen, and I cannot do anything about it. There's one thing that I can do, which is try to feel and to have us make a guesstimate, an educated guess of what's going to happen and how can I benefit from it. That's the only thing I can do. And thank you, Karim. Thank you. Yeah. One thing that you'll notice is, by the way, is, since I have nothing to gain from it, and since I don't charge anything for any kind of predictions, it's easier to be accurate, you see, and I don't need to sell you end of the world on a daily basis, because my life is not YouTube. You see, when you have this combination, things tend to go well, to go better at least. And so basically what I'm trying to say on this point is, and I think sometimes people get this a bit wrong about myself, which is I am not all happy and throwing parties in my house because BlackRock and institutional money in general, Fidelity and the others, are coming into play into a world where basically initially was created exactly to kind of keep this type of people out. What I can do is, okay, look, I have a family, I have responsibilities to them. How can I make sure that I try to be in the better position to benefit the most? That's all I can control. I cannot decide on the ETFs. I cannot prevent manipulation. I cannot do any of that. So I need to try to make an educated decision and try to get the closest I can, hopefully, to generational wealth. If not generational wealth, at least financial independence, because then I will have freedom of movement in order to maybe consider living in other places where freedom and other things are a bit more valid. That's it. That's all I can do. Other than that, I can sit here and cry with you guys and complain and say this is bullshit, blah, 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 and all of this kind of stuff. But how exactly does it help me? I mean, it doesn't help me. So I cannot do anything about it. That's also a little bit the problem, I think, with our society nowadays, which is we tend to be very quick to complain, and instead of immediately looking for solutions, which I think is much more productive than just sitting here around. But in any case, guys, I think we covered a lot tonight. We are about the 30-minute mark. In case you guys have one final question or two final questions for me, let me know. Otherwise, I think we can call it a live stream. Again, for you who have been following this channel, nothing of what is happening is a surprise. For all these financial experts that make hundreds of thousands of dollars of people listening to them, all of this is not only a surprise, but the complete opposite of what they said. And unfortunately, I hope that with time, more people will come here. I think with the bull market in crypto, it will become easier. But in any case, the channel has been growing very well. We are close to 800 subs, which to me, I mean, if you would tell me in June when I started my channel that I was going to get to 800 subs, I would never believe it, at least so quickly. So I thank you all for your support, guys. You're always very nice to me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, KB, and I can promise you, once again, I'm not part of the Fed. It's just that these games tend to play over and over again, as long as you still keep attention of what is happening. Though the ECB won't, they're following the same steps. They're a bit behind the US, so they will keep on going pretty much in the same direction. Like to me, there's no situation where the ECB is skyrocketing rates and the Fed is cutting rates at the same time. No, they will follow the same things, in my opinion. It's easier for them to maybe, if inflation goes a bit out of control, but it won't. You see, I think I've said this before. Okay, I'll conclude with this. Most people think rate cuts, money printing, and basically what's going to happen is inflation is going to pop up again. So this is the narrative, okay? Now, I don't understand where they can draw this conclusion from, taking into account that we've just seen Japan do that for 30 years with no success. We've done it for 15 years with no inflation, and Europe has done it for 15 years worse than us, adjusted for their size of the economy. And Japan has done it, I mean, compared to the size of their economy, much worse than everybody. And they don't have inflation. And the reason is actually quite simple. You see, when they just do QE and they just print money, but it goes through the banking system, that doesn't create inflation. And the reason is very simple. Why did we have inflation this time around? Because the Fed gave money straight to people, told them to stay at home, broke supply chains, and some people basically had a second or even equivalent to a third salary. So they spend money. And then you have real inflation. Why didn't you have inflation between 2008 and 2020 or 2021? The reason is actually also quite simple. The world was full of debt. So if you lower interest rates and you print a lot of money, if you are a guy like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, if you're a company like Microsoft, Apple, you go to a bank or you go to the bond market and you get funding extremely cheap. So one of your costs comes down, so you don't need to pass that cost to the consumers. So actually it's a little bit deflationary. Problem is, the average person lives paycheck to paycheck, full of debt, mortgages, student loans, credit card debt, etc., etc. So they go to the bank, hey, can I get $1 million, $1 million? No, you can't. And this is 60 to 75% of the population. So for them, it's irrelevant. It's actually worse because if they happen to save any little bit of money, they get no interest for it in deposits. Now, what does the top 20, top 30% of the world, of the society do? They go to a bank and they get loans very cheaply, and they do get the loans. Why? Because they have high-paying jobs, they have good credit scores, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of assets to work as collateral, so they benefit a lot from it. But what is the problem? If you think about it, if I make you a millionaire tomorrow, will you eat 5 dinners and 3 lunches? No. You're going to eat 1 dinner, 1 lunch. Okay, fine. You're going to eat a more expensive dinner and lunch. Fine. Okay. Maybe you're going to have 5 cars. But are you going to drive 5 cars in the same week? Are you going to pump gas in all of the cars at the same time? No. So you do spend more money because you buy more expensive stuff, because you buy more stuff in general. But the rest of the population, the majority, is not benefiting at all. So, and even in this situation, you get a lot of extra cash. So what do? Do you put it in a bank? No. Why not? You get no deposits. Will you buy bonds? I mean, maybe a little bit just for the case that we have a stock market crash. But the great majority of your money will go into stocks and real estate. So those things go up. But the real economy, the CPI, doesn't. I mean, it is really that simple. So it's a little bit like, let's say they print $1 trillion, but the banks don't lend that money to anybody. Are you going to have inflation? No, because the money is not getting into the real economy. So it stays in the top 20%. So that's the reason when you see charts of wealth gaps, the difference between rich and poor is expanding brutally. Yes, it is. That's the reason why. Because the Fed is printing a lot of money, the ECB is printing a lot of money. That money goes to the top 20%. And what do they do with it? They buy assets. And they buy stocks, real estate, whatever. But the real economy will not experience that much increase in price. Particularly because we have technology working at the same time, which lowers price. So you have a deflationary pressure from technology, and you have a little bit of inflationary pressure because indeed, there's always a little bit of the money that indeed spills over into the economy, but it's a tiny fraction. What the gold bugs, like Peter Schiff tell you, is, they're printing money, so inflation is going to go hyperinflation like Argentina. No. Again, you are issuing debt in your own currency, and it's gate kept by the banks. So if they print money again and they give it straight to people, directly to people like they've done, yes, you're going to have inflation again. But only in that situation. Thank you very much, Mivaned. Very nice comment. But in any case, I hope that that's clear. So when people say, I don't understand, we printed so much money and inflation is the lowest that we've been seeing, that's the reason why. Okay, it's really that simple. I mean, and we've seen it, and the thing that shocks me is that Japan has been doing this for 30 years. I mean, it should be so obvious to everyone. I mean, they have done it and over and over again. Japan has printed 150% of their GDP, and they have, on average, 0% inflation over the last 30 years. Now they have a little bit of inflation right now. We're talking about 3.5%. We're not talking about 30, 50, 60, 80, like the gold bugs will tell you. And because the gold bugs want gold to go up, they want the dollar destroyed. And they operate in a world where, for some reason, the dollar will completely collapse, but all the other currencies will stay fine, despite doing the same or worse than the US. Which to me makes no sense. But you see, again, the point. They want to sell you gold. They want to convince you listening to buy gold. That's it. Hopefully from their companies, right? So be always very careful with the agendas of these people. There was one time, and I will finish with this. There was one time I had in the comment that someone was calling me a scammer because I don't even understand why. And I just asked him, how am I scamming anyone if you don't even have any way to send me money? Like, I don't sell you courses, I don't sell you private groups, I don't sell you, private memberships for price predictions on stuff. I don't give you crypto addresses for you to send me money. I don't give you any of that. I don't get ad revenue. I mean, I hope one day I will get it. But I mean, it's going to be, based on the size of the channel, it's going to be maybe $5 per month or something, which is fine. But the point is, I do not live off the money of my audience. That is the key. And I never asked for it. So, no, that's why I can be honest. I have nothing to lose. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I've been right much more than I've been wrong. And I'm happy that that's transpiring. And I guess I'm going to conclude with that, guys. Thank you very much. Sorry a little bit for the final rant, but I think it's important to follow this. And thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, look, man, what I would, Mivanet, I mean, that's an important comment. Okay, so I'll reply to yours and that will be it. Yeah, look, you see, what I could do now is I've been right in several of my predictions. Now I could say something like this. If you join my private group, I will tell you all my secrets so you can make a lot of money. You just need to pay me 1,000 euros per month, and you'll know all my secrets, and you'll know everything. Like, I could have done that. And this will happen with crypto, unfortunately. So what the channels do is they are coming up constantly. You must have seen this before. Top 10 cryptos to go 50x, top 10 cryptos to go 100x, top 10 cryptos to go 1,000%, blah, blah, blah. And when we hit the bull market, unfortunately, some of these will go up 1,000%. What these people will do is they will pretend all the other 900 cryptos that they predicted never existed. See? They will predict that. They will pretend that they've never existed, they've never talked, and they will talk about the one that succeeded over and over and over again. The idea is very simple, is to sell you courses, to sell you private groups, and to, if you follow me, I will tell you the next 100-fold crypto, blah, blah, blah. And that's the idea, is to make you their passive income. That's it. And I've seen there are multiple channels that do this all the time. Okay? And when that starts to fail, if we enter a bear market and that starts to fail, they start creating tokens and dumping on their audience. Like a famous crypto guy did. So that's it. Unfortunately, the YouTube is filled with this, and one of the reasons that I've created this channel is hopefully the people that listen to me learn how to recognize these patterns that unfortunately will happen again, and hopefully will be protected and will not make the mistake of buying stupid stuff for $3,000, blah blah blah. Think about it. If they really had a system that really outperformed the market consistently, they wouldn't sell you for 30K, for 3K. They will sell you for 30K. Right? If they would have some, by the way, they would sell, if they had some type of knowledge that only they had, they would go to a major bank and say, hey, I have this software with all these, look at my performance over the last 10 years. I sell you this for $3 million. This is what they would do. See? Yeah, thank you very much, German guy, once again, guys. And with this, unless you guys have one final question for me,